What's going on, everybody? If you're in Canada, happy long weekend. Victoria Day long weekend this weekend. I believe the Memorial Day long weekend is it next weekend for you guys in the States? It's a long weekend for us here in Canada. Tomorrow's a holiday. It's Sunday, May the 19th, 2024, 1:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is episode 259 of Mcrae Live, and it's an all Q&A. We're going to turn it over to the chat room and see what you have to say, any questions you have, anything you want to talk about, what sort of topics you want to get off your chest, you want to vent, you want to tell me I'm a bum, you want to tell me I'm an idiot. Maybe you want to tell me this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity. You know, it's funny. The trolls, the people who don't like me, well, some of them are not trolls. Some of them are just people who don't like me. Don't like how I say things, whatever. They never show up to live streams. Well, except for that one guy who's, you know. But generally speaking, they never, you know. Maybe I should do a show where I invite people who don't like me on as a guest, and then they can challenge me to my views on, I don't know, Halloween, Friday the 13th. Wouldn't that be an interesting show? I wonder if anybody would show up. Would anybody show up? I can't stand that Dave Mcrae. Well, come on as a guest. Let's do this. Let's hash it out. This is your opportunity. You damn son of a bitch. That actually would make for a very interesting show. But you know, they're very hot in the comment section, but they never show that. That's it. They're never here. Anyway, that's the way it is. Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome to episode 259 of Mcrae Live. My name's Dave Mcrae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. And like I said, it's an all Q&A today. It's Sunday, May the 19th, 2024, 1:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I said, it's a long weekend here in Canada this weekend, Victoria Day long weekend. And just wanted to jump on and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's lots going down. I was going to do a main topic for this show. I was going to do that. I was going to do I was going to talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer, because of course they finally made it official in terms of a release date. I believe it's July 2025, but I'm like, I kind of already talked about I Know What You Did Last Summer a few episodes ago and kind of gave my thoughts on it, and my thoughts really haven't changed much. And of course, there's the whole Friday the 13th thing that's happening right now. And then, of course, Horror Inc. just announced the Jason universe, which does not include any movies, and that's because New Line owns the rights to the Friday the 13th name, and they don't. It's a whole thing. But apparently, if you've been keeping up, with the Joneses, there is no rights issues going on right now. Like it's not like there's a rights battle. Those things have been settled. Those things are done. Those things have been settled. It's just how it's divvied up, right? or divided up, I should say. How it's divided up and who's got what and who's got the rights to what and how they can do this and do that. It's very fragmented in that way. It's very fractured. It's not clean and tidy, and there's not like one person who's got it all. It's kind of all over the place. So no, unfortunately, the Jason universe does not include any movies at the moment, which is why, again, you have the title of the series called Crystal Lake. And then, of course, as you know, the last few Friday the 13th movies outside of the remake, of course, was Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason. You don't have Friday the 13th in there anywhere, and that's because, it was a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But New Line actually does have the Friday the 13th, I believe, at the moment. It's not Paramount, believe it or not. But anyway, so that's a whole thing that's happening right now. But I talked, that was my last show. I talked at length about that. But there's always lots to talk about, so I wanted to throw it over to the chat room and just have an all Q&A and see what you were all saying today. And let's see who rolls on in. We got 82 people watching at the moment. We just started a few minutes ago, so we'll see who rolls on in throughout the rest of the show today. So super chat did come in from Josh McKenna. It sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, have you ever stopped watching a movie before it was over because it was terrible, or do you normally try to stick it out no matter how bad it is? If you do remember what movie you stopped, well, it takes a lot for me to stop a movie. even if I'm not enjoying a movie, I will try to stick it out. There's some movies that, though, it depends, right? Because there's some movies that you start watching and it's not necessarily a bad movie. It's just not the movie you thought it was going to be. Do you know what I mean? Like that usually happens, of course, for me, if I'm like perusing Netflix or Prime or something like that. And, and then I find a movie maybe I've never heard of and I read the little blurb and I'm like, oh, that sounds like that might be interesting. Ooh, I like that premise. And then I start watching it and, 25, 30 minutes in the movie, you're kind of like, yeah, it's not really what I thought it was going to be. So then I turn it off. But that's not because it's a bad movie necessarily. It's just not what I had thought. However, the one that just sticks out in my head, and maybe because I do tend to try and stick it out, but I remember when I rented The Grudge 2. The Grudge 2 from like 2005 or 6 or whatever. I had rented it from the video store, and I was watching it, and it was so bad, I turned it off. I was like, this is just dog shit. This is dog shit. I turned it off. I've never walked out of a movie theater. And that could also be because I am extraordinarily picky, as you guys know. I'm not a movie reviewer, so I don't have to go and watch every movie that comes out, right? My hat goes off to like the Cody Leaches of the world that are movie reviewers. And so their job, this is his job. It's his full-time job. His job is to go to movies, whether that's a press screening or whether it's just a regular screening, whatever the case is, his job is to go to all the movies that, all the mainstream sort of traditional movies that come out, because his channel, which is up at like 140,000 subs right now, which is fantastic, there's expectations there. He's a movie reviewer. For me, I'm not. I never designed my channel that way. I never promoted myself that way because I never wanted to have those expectations placed upon me, because it's very rare, although I'm a movie guy, it's very rare that I go to the movie theater. I might go to the movie theater maybe 10 times a year. Maybe it's 8 or 9, because, most of the time I see, like, I'm not into the big superhero things, right? So, and those take up a lot. So I don't go to that. Horror movies, people ask, are you going to go see The Strangers Pray at Night, Chapter 1 or whatever? I'm like, no. And why? Because it doesn't interest me to go see it. Just because a horror movie is in the movie theater doesn't mean that I have to go see it. I'm not saying people are, I'm just saying for me, I'm like, yes, I'm a horror guy. I'm a genre fan. I want to support horror. Absolutely. But that in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean I have to go and see every horror movie that comes out. I have no interest in seeing The Strangers Pray at Night because it just looks like a less good version, I know that's terrible grammar, of the original. And I'm a big fan of the original. And this just looks like a absolute pointless remake. So I probably will never watch it. To be totally honest with you, I might, maybe if it comes to streaming or something like that. Anyways, I know I'm getting off track here, but I just was saying that it takes a lot for me to go to the movie theater and things like that in terms of like really, like, it's got to be a movie like, oh, I want to see that. That trailer looked fantastic. I want to see that, right? Or if it's just a built-in IP. Friday the 13th, Halloween, Elm Street, I'm always going to be there, even if the trailers look subpar, right? Because it's nostalgia. I'm an 80s kid, all that kind of stuff. So that will be the case. But when it comes to, like Abigail, I went and saw Abigail because I watched the trailer and I thought, what? That looks great. I want to see that movie. Late Night with the Devil, saw that in the theater. That looks really interesting. That looks cool. I want to see that, but, Immaculate, didn't go see it. Not because I thought it looked awful, but obviously there wasn't enough there for me to be like, oh, fuck, I gotta go check out Immaculate. You know what I mean? Or even The First Omen, right? I hear The First Omen's fantastic, but obviously there wasn't enough in the trailer for me to be like, oh, fuck, I gotta fucking go check that. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's different strokes for different folks, but if I'm going to go to the movie theater and I'm going to pay, $15, $20 to watch a movie and sit my ass down for 2.5 hours, it's got to be something where I'm like, oh, I want to see that in the theater. You know what I mean? I got to go see that. But other people are different, right? Other people like to go to the movies just They just go to the movies. Just go to the movies all the time. It doesn't matter. And so anyways, the point I'm making here is that I've never walked out of a movie. But that could also be because I don't go to as many movies as maybe you do or the average person does, right? Like Cody can't walk out of a movie necessarily because he's got to review it. But if you go to the movie theater 50 times a year or 100 times a year, chances are, the probability goes up that you've walked out of a few. For me, it doesn't seem to be that way. Anyways, again, like I said, I digress, but I love movies. I'm a movie guy, of course, and I want to preserve the theatrical experience. I think the theatrical experience is the best way to watch a movie, 100%. I'm a huge proponent of the theatrical experience. I always have been, I always will be. But for me to go to the movies, I got to really connect with the trailer. I got to if it's not an already Halloween Friday, that shit doesn't count. But if it's something new, I really got to connect with the trailer, with the marketing, or somebody I know has worked on the project, or whatever the case is. There's got to be something that really gets me there, because most of the horror movies, I have no interest in going to see that new Exorcist movie with Russell Crowe. Right? Not the Pope's Exorcist, but the other one he's in, which is about to come out. I watched the trailer and I'm like, yeah, whatever. It just looks like another. I love the premise. The premise is cool, but I'm like, unless there's a horror movie, there's a trailer, and I'm like, but the reviews are just phenomenal. It's 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, 97% audience score. The buzz is just hot. I'm just like, fuck. Well, it didn't do much for me, but I got to go fucking check this out. It's crazy. I everybody's talking about, I got to go see what's up. That can definitely entice me to go. But, as John Carpenter said once, in an interview, most horror movies, not all, but most horror movies are garbage, because they follow the same formula. There's a copy and paste sort of vibe to them. There's a lot of requels and remakes, and there's a lot of tropes, and a lot of them are just sort of surface level pedestrian. It's slight variations of everything we've always seen. And so now, obviously, garbage is in the eye of the beholder, but it's John Carpenter, and he goes off on tangents, and most of them are. But the point he was making is that most horror movies, I'll remove the term garbage because that's going to the extreme. But most horror movies are pretty much kind of all similar. Do you know what I mean? It takes a lot for you to walk out of a horror movie, out of the theater being like, wow, that was scary, or that was, you know what I'm saying? They're all sort of kind of similar, And so that's what he meant by that. And he's right, especially when it comes to horror. He's right. It takes a lot nowadays. And then every now and then a really cool horror movie will come along where you're like, oh, you know what I mean? I wish The Night House was The Night House released in theaters? I can't remember. But that's a great film, right? Anyways, fuck, I'm going off on a tangent here, but what else is new? But yes, I have, but it's very rare. It's very rare, Josh. It's very rare. But yeah, I love movies. I love the movie theater experience, and I want to preserve it. And I definitely go to the movies. I absolutely do. But it takes a lot. Just because there's a horror movie coming out, that doesn't mean that I'm going to go to the theater to see it. The marketing has got to win me over. If I'm going to spend $15 and sit my ass down for an hour and a half, you got to the fact that it just, and most horror movies that I see, I kind of go, it just kind of looks like a standard Hollywood horror movie. I don't need to see that. I don't need to spend $15 to see that. I don't need to go to the movie theater to see that. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because I'm 45, and if I was 17, I'd be like, because that's what you do when you're 17. But in your 40s, I'm just kind of like, I'll catch it. And it's not because I'm lazy, and it's not because it's too expensive. It's just simply because I sit back and I think the marketing just hasn't won me over to the degree from I have to see that in the theater. Oh, I want the 30-foot screen and the surround sound and the fucking sitting in the dark with the other, other people, the popcorn and the munchies, and people going, ah! I want that fucking experience with that fucking movie because that fucking movie looks awesome. You know what I'm saying? most of the time I don't feel that when I watch a trailer or the marketing or whatever the case is. Like long legs, right? Long legs. Oh, now that's that. Hey, see what you know what I'm talking? Long legs. I'm like, oh, that might be one I want to go see in the theater because I love the marketing. The trailers are eerie and creepy. What's going on? What is this about? Ooh, this is kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like yes. But when it comes to like, Russell Crowe and another Exorcist movie, I'm like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Even though I do like the premise. But hey, if that new Russell Crowe Exorcist movie gets like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes and 94% audience score, maybe I'll go check it out. But we'll see. Anyways, let's get on here. Get on with it, Mcrae. Brandon Collins sends in $2. Thanks, Brandon. Says, is it inevitable theatrical distribution is dying? Well, I mean, it's definitely changing. And streaming is playing a huge role in that, of course. And just, the dynamics of people and their relationships and there's always that turnover. I mean, there is a generation now that is growing up that is growing up in the digital world. And what I mean by that, and not to sound ageist here, but I'm going to be 45 next week and, I'm 5 years away from 50. And so I didn't grow up in the digital, like in terms of through the 80s and through the 90s. It was really at the late 90s, early 2000s when the internet really started to mold and become what it is today, right? As we know, I mean, I think you're my age or a year older or something. And so, we grew up at a time where that was how you went and watched movies. There was no streaming. You went to the movie theaters. But there's a whole generation now, some of which watch me here on this channel, who have absolutely, unequivocally, no flippin' idea. They can intellectualize it. They can imagine it, but they have absolutely no idea, no experience, no reference point to what it's like to not even have the internet, or let alone even social media. I mean, if you were born, let's say in 1999, you'd be 25 years old right now. And there's 25-year-olds that watch me. If you were born in 99, you don't have really any memories between 99 and 2006, right? I mean, it's not like you could remember vividly, I remember when I was 3 and I was what? No, you have no idea. So really, how far you go back with your memories. I mean, 2009, I can remember 1988. You know what I'm saying? And so, but if you're 25 right now, remembering, I mean, your memory may go back to what, 2009, 2007? Like you do remember when you're 6 and 7 years old, but it's probably very hazy. And so by the time you get to, where you're really experiencing and remembering memories and stuff, it's probably 2010, 11, 12. 13. By that time, look at the world, social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. I mean, it's a whole different world. And so a younger generation's natural experience isn't the movie theater. Or natural go-to isn't the movie theater. It's streaming, it's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's Prime. That's just what they do. It's part of the culture. It's part of a generation. It's part of a culture. It's part of their dynamic growing up with their friends. Netflix and chill. I mean, we know what that means, but you can still just chill and hang out with friends, even though it doesn't quite mean that. But nonetheless, there is that dynamic, right? And so it's a whole different kind of thing. And kids today, do they like going to the movies? Yeah, they probably do, but not nearly as much as we had to because they had more options. So I don't know if it's dying, but it's certainly changing and it's certainly evolving. And, the exhibitors and movie theaters, and you see them doing this. I mean, introducing VIP and of course they have arcades and games there and you can play air hockey and throw a basketball into a net and win a stuffed animal, all while going to see a movie and eating tacos. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's becoming like a carnival, and you can go watch a movie. And they've been doing that for a long time now too, but they're doing that because to get people to go. So it's not just the movie experience, it's an experience. It's almost like going to a mini theme park. Do you know what I mean? Like you go and there's the games and and I was gonna say shuffleboard, air hockey, and you can win. I mean, you could go to the movie theater. Some theaters. There's a new theater that opened up around the corner from me that has like it's art. You can play games, you can win stuffed animals, you get the tickets, and you go to the counter, and however many tickets you get this stuff. I mean, you could spend 3 hours at the movie theater at this new theater and not even watch a movie, right? I mean, you could just go and play video games for 3 hours and air hockey and Pac-Man and whatever the case is, and that could be fun. And so they're really trying to evolve. And then you look at the theater experience, right? And this has been around for a bit now, but the D-box things or whatever it's called, the things that shake and move. I can't fucking stand those things. And now they have like those panorama theaters where I'm just like, I don't want to be able to but they're trying to do things, right? And so is it dying? I mean, in 20 years, will there be no movie theaters? I don't think so. I just think it will continue to evolve as the technology evolves. And what a movie theater experience is in 2030 or 2035 will just be very different, and I mean, look at James Cameron, who is desperately and would love to develop, 3D technology without glasses, right? So you could go watch Avatar and you don't even have to wear glasses. I mean, that's next in the pipeline. And that alone would be an experience. I mean, Avatar was an experience, right? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, will theater cease to exist at some point? Maybe. But it is still where movies make the most of their money, for a variety of reasons. And until Superman can make $1 billion on streaming, movie theaters will continue to exist. Let's just, that's the short answer, right? Until major blockbusters, if they want to continue to make these $200 million tentpole films, and they seem to want to continue to do that, then they got to go theatrical, right? They have to. Anyways, it's a fascinating, I think it's just going to continue to evolve and shape, and our experience will continue to evolve. And movie theaters, and you see it already, right? Movie theaters you can go to the movies, but it's not like it was in the 80s and the 90s where you go to the movie theater and there's no video games. It's just concessions in the theater, literally. And now it's like a whole fucking experience. You don't even have to go see a movie. You can spend 3 hours playing video games and air hockey and getting stuffed animals and shit. It's wild. Aaron Click says, Dave, if a movie is a reboot, remake, and it's getting poor reviews, so you feel it's ever justified to hope it fails so that hopefully Hollywood doesn't give us more of the same. I don't know. I see what you're saying, Aaron. I don't know if we are, and I speak as a collective, not anybody personally. I don't know if we are as a collective mature enough to understand the rationale of what you just said. Because in principle of what you're talking about, it makes sense. Because obviously if something fails and doesn't continue to make money, then there is a higher probability that the studios will not make them. I mean, if it doesn't make money, they're not going to make them. So there is truth to that. The problem is in our world is that we like to have our cake and eat it too. And if you're going to instill that sort of kind of mindset, I don't know if audiences are mature enough. It's like, I get what you're saying, and to hope that it fails if it gets poor reviews, it's very subjective, right? I mean, whether you like a movie or not is purely subjective. I don't subscribe to the notion that all art is subjective, because I think we have to define what we're talking about. Like just the statement, all movies are subjective. Well, no, that's not true, because what are we talking about? Are we talking about taste? Yes, that's true. If I like a movie or not is purely subjective. If a movie works for me but doesn't work for you, that's subjective. But the technical aspect of making a movie and things like that are not subjective. I mean, we can measure that and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, hoping that a movie fails if it's got bad reviews, sure, I guess, but that's not going to stop Hollywood from that might stop them in their tracks, maybe with that particular, series, but it's not going to stop them from remaking things. Remakes have been around for years. Scarface is a remake. Remakes have been around for years. It's just that now with the ease of access of information and how everybody's connected, it feels, it's like going online and watching dash cam videos of crazy car accidents or, crazy, people behaving crazy in public and all. Those things always existed. There were always people freaking out at the grocery store. There were always people, running naked through the streets. There were always those things always existed. It's just now we have cameras everywhere to capture them, right? And so I just kind of feel like I had a point. I fucking forget where I was going with this now, but yeah, I'll just say that it's. I don't know. I just don't believe that today's audiences are mature enough to hope something fails with reverence and class. Because I think that a lot of people are just, and I turn to these culture war channels and they build a groupthink confirmation bias environment with their audience where to the point where even if they liked the movie that came out, they could not tell their audience they did. They could not do it. And so it's just, these channels are just bullshit to me. Now, that doesn't mean there's not truth to what they're all saying, but when you can't come back and say, hey, you know what? I actually quite like that movie. I thought it was pretty good. When you can't do that because your audience is going to call you a shill and there's problems. There's problem. When you build your identity as someone who's tearing something down, you can no longer, and you spend 2 years tearing something down before it's even been shot. You can't then go back to your audience and say, well, actually, it was pretty good. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here. I just think there's a lot of what you said there to unpack, but I guess the short answer is I don't believe that audiences are mature enough to be able to look at it from that perspective. I think some audiences would be able to, but I think there's so much vitriol and hatred and disdain for Hollywood and wanting things to fail that most people want things to fail just simply because of spite. Simon Mills sends in a member chat. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. And says, so Dave, what do you think about the Jason Universe update? Imagine a Freddy one. We can get you to team up with Robert, and I love you matey, love from Birmingham, UK. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. I couldn't care less about the Jason Universe. I really don't care. I'm in agreement with those that say, what's the point of this? No one gives a shit. Look, I mean, again, I shouldn't say no one. There are people out there, but generally speaking, people aren't eager for more, Friday the 13th napkins. They want a movie. And unfortunately, this Jason Universe does not include a movie because of the situation. And so, no, it's but hey, you know what? People can bitch and moan, and then something will be released, and people will find it cool, or I don't know. I don't care. I really don't care, and I don't think the vast majority of Friday the 13th fans really care. What they want is a movie, and they want, as I've said before, they want Jason killing kids at a camp. And as I said on my last show, unfortunately, I believe you can get that. I think you can get that. But it has to be more than that. And there's a section of the population that doesn't quite understand, and this is because they just don't understand the business of film. And I say that not in a pretentious way. I say that because it's very clear by when I read your tweets that you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. When it comes to why it's important to make a Friday the 13th film more than just boobs, tits, and blood. Right. And so boobs, tits, and blood, teens, boobs, and blood. And so, two things can be true at the same time. And you can have awesome kills, teens at a camp, Jason, all that kind of stuff. But it can't just be that today. And if you want it just that today, then you will find yourself right back where you are right now, because there's no longevity in just that in 2024. In the 80s, it was different. That was horror in the 80s. And so they kept remaking that because that's what people went to go and see. That's what they wanted to see. But 40 years later, that's not what horror is. So you might be able to get a great Jason movie that makes, $80 million opening weekend at the box office because people are hungry for Jason. Jason. But if you want Jason around longer than one movie and a fucking fleeting napkin, then you better hope that there's more meat on the bone. And I say that because, and Brian Fuller agreed with me. Not agreed with me personally. I just mean that I said that before Fuller even made his announcement that he had departed from the project. And when he made his announcement that he had departed from the project, he himself said that he had this idea that he would elevate it and evolve it and all this. He said the same thing I was saying. It's not like I know Brian Fuller, but he gets it. He knows it. You know what I mean? And so all you that wanted Fuller, I mean, you weren't just going to get stabby with Brian Fuller. You were going to get stabby and a fucking meat on the bone story. That's what you're going to get, because especially in a television series format where you have maybe 8 or 10 episodes that are hour long each, you need meat on the bone. You need to flesh that out and have us care about characters. But there's this, and I understand it, there's this apprehension and this wall that comes up with fans that cannot separate, or they can't, and I get it. They think that if it's not stabby, it automatically means it's going to be Hereditary. And it's like, well, why are we making that leap? Well, look what they did with Halloween Ends. Well, yes, that's Halloween Ends. That's Halloween Ends. That the same people doing this have nothing to do with Halloween Ends. And so, yeah, it's just, I stand by that. I still do. I think the Jason universe is an attempt to really to make a lot of money and to appease fans that don't have anything at the moment. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this announcement was made now on the heels of the whole, Brian Fuller leaving, A24 retooling. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's kind of like, hey, we'll give you something. The Jason universe is coming. Okay, that's great. But nobody cares about that, really. Now, maybe they'll make us care about it, and that's their job. That's their job. My advice to them would be, hey, nobody gives a fuck about this Jason universe you just announced. Nobody. No Friday the 13th gives a shit. Nobody cares. Nobody wants napkins and salt and pepper shakers and, nobody cares. Nobody cares. More t-shirts, whatever. Nobody cares. There's thousands of Friday the 13th and Jason merch and t-shirts, and there's only, how many different poses can you put that goddamn mask on a hoodie? And nobody cares about that. What they want is a fucking movie. So if you can't do that right now, which obviously you can't, then you have to make us really care about this Jason universe. Make us really show us something like, I don't know, like maybe there's like at a theme park, there's like a whole Jason exhibit at not at Universal. Well, they'd have to partner with Universal, but somewhere there's like a Jason experience. You know what I mean? Where you go in and you're chased by Jason, or I don't know, there's like an escape room or that you go to and Jason shows up, where you have to get out of the room before, Jason gets in. Like make it maybe there is some really cool shit they could do. Maybe there is. But as a whole, I don't really care about it either. But I just needed to reinstate my thoughts on the whole Friday the 13th thing, because fans need to understand that there has to be more meat on the bone. Your stabby booby Friday the 13th part 5 ain't gonna fly today in 2024. It's not going to happen. And if you're somebody that didn't watch my last episode and you're about to use the Terrifier argument, I encourage you to go watch the last episode and why I say that Terrifier and Friday the 13th, not the same thing, not a good example. It's a completely different thing. And there's reasons for that. It would take too long to get into here, but yeah, I don't particularly care. Andrew Garrett, what's going on? Andrew, my man, Andrew sends in $10. I know that guy. Says, hey Dave, hope all is well. Any excitement for Alien Romulus? Fede Alvarez is directing, and I'm hoping this will be a better entry than Prometheus and Alien Covenant did not enjoy either. I am looking forward to this, Andrew. I am. I definitely am. I thought the teaser trailer was great. When I first watched the teaser, I wasn't a huge fan. And I was, not that I wasn't a huge fan, I was underwhelmed for some reason. And I think it was because I just was like, oh, another Alien movie. You know what I mean? I was like, oh. The teaser, though, if you just look at it as a teaser, it's a fantastic teaser. And it's great. It's great. It's what a teaser trailer should be. So the teaser trailer is great, and it harkens back to that original Alien from '79. And Fede Alvarez, of course. I mean, if you're going to have anybody in the director chair, he's a good guy to have in there. I'm looking forward to it. It takes place between Alien and Aliens, if I'm not mistaken. So and apparently it's a one-off kind of thing. Well, it's a one-off kind of thing right now. But if Alien Romulus, is a gigantic box office success, let's say it makes like, $500 million at the worldwide box office, you can bet your ass that they're going to make another film probably in that timeline between Alien and Aliens to connect to Alien Romulus. It's going to happen. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good. Prometheus, I haven't seen in a while. Alien Covenant, I never did see. I can't remember my thoughts on Prometheus. That was like 12 years ago now, wasn't it? 2012 or something. I don't remember hating it, but yeah, I just think these, I don't know. There are some franchises that just, it's kind of done. Like we're done now. Like there are some franchises that couple of movies, maybe 3, 4 tops. 4's like, and that's kind of it. Like, look at the Terminator franchise, where it's kind of like, yes, could you keep going with it? You could, but sometimes, like, when you look at Terminator and Terminator 2, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of over. Like some stories can be told in a few movies, or 2 or 3 movies. And the Alien films, I kind of feel like that. Like, I know there's more you could tell and you could build on the universe and the lore. For sure you could. It's space. It's the universe. But I kind of watch them and I'm like, I'm aliens. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. If Fede Alvarez can make me care about that world again and make me go back and watch Alien, then I'm all on board. It looks like a old school horror movie, which is great. So yeah, I am looking forward to it. Tanner freaking Bowles sends in $2. Thank you. Says Halloween Resurrection or Jason Goes to Hell. Oh, I would pick if those are my 2 options, I would pick Halloween Resurrection. Yeah. Yeah. If those are, it's like, do you want a shit pizza or do you want just to eat shit out of the toilet? Like, well, I would rather have the shit pizza because at least there's pepperoni on it and some cheese. So at least it's going to help a little bit, even though there's shit all over it. Or do you just want to eat raw shit out of the toilet? Well, I think we'd all just choose the pizza, right? Am I right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Salwane's Knight says, Dave, do you follow the CFL at all? Not really. I was a huge fan while we had a team in Baltimore. Yeah, the Baltimore... what were the Baltimore... Not Falcons, Baltimore Falcons, was it? Baltimore, I forgot the name now. Even though it was short-lived, it was only American city to host the Grey Cup. That's true. Yeah, that was what, 96, 95, 96. When I was a kid in the 80s and certainly a teen in the 90s, I used to go to a lot of CFL games in Ottawa. CFL, for those who don't know, the Canadian Football League. I used to sit in the press box with my dad and I'd sometimes go out onto the field and so, yeah, but I think, the CFL, of course, is for all intents and purposes, it's kind of like a farm league to the NFL in some ways, right? Although not actually, but it kind of, you know what I mean? Because there are a lot of players that don't make the NFL, but then go to the CFL. And then there are a couple of CFL players that play in the CFL, and then they go to the NFL, like Doug Flutie. But the CFL it's good football, man. It is. It's 3 downs instead of 4. The field is 110 yards instead of 100 yards. So it's a longer field, a wider field, only 3 downs. So you have less time to get to where you need to go to that first down. It's good football. Like it's got a sort of a blue collar and it's a passing league. You see, the NFL, because it's 4 downs, the NFL is more of a running league. They run a lot in the NFL, right? They hand it off to the running back. And so you see a lot of running in the NFL, whereas in the CFL, because you only have 3 downs, there's a lot of passing in the CFL. So there's a lot of sort of can be excitement in that way. And the CFL is a fun league, you know, and at one time it was, I mean, you would go to a CFL game and you'd have like 40, 50,000 people in the stands at one time. But because of cable and because of sort of now the NFL and just its reach and everything, the NFL is way more popular up here now than the CFL is. And so going to CFL games, unless you're out, like in Toronto especially, if you go to a CFL game, you might get like 15,000 people at a game. Out west, though, like in Saskatchewan and Alberta, they still draw really well out there. Like you could get 35, 40,000 to just a regular season game, especially in Saskatchewan, because they don't have a baseball team. They don't have a hockey team. You know what I mean? So all they have is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You know what I mean? And they draw really well. It's kind of like it's got like a, what's the, fuck, I hate getting old. I hate getting old. Anyway, what the fuck is the team in it's my brother Bob's favorite team. It's gonna come to me. It'll come to me. Anyway, it's Green Bay, Wisconsin. There's a Green Bay, Wisconsin vibe in Saskatchewan. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's all there is out there, you know. But I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I wouldn't say I've ever really been a fan. You know what I mean? Where I've had like the jerseys and going to all, I mean, I would only go to the games because I could go to for free. You know what I mean? And so, but it's good football. Like it's not bad football. You know, I know it gets teased a lot from you know, in American media and things like that, but it's not like it's legit football. Like, I mean, it's not like it's this sort of wimpy kind of league. I mean, it's legit. And the games are exciting, like I said, because there's a lot more passing because they only have 3 downs. But anyway, so yeah, I'm all for it. I hope it survives. They've often thought about bringing an NFL team to Toronto because obviously, you know, but that would just kill the CFL team here. You know what I mean? And they'd have to build a stadium for it too because the Rogers Center, formerly Skydome, is no longer a multi-purpose stadium. It's baseball only now. So they'd have to build an NFL stadium size stadium in Toronto, which we don't have at the moment. So yeah, they'd have to do that. But yeah. Let me see here. Hang on, I got to go back. Did I get that? I did. Oh, geez. I'm way behind here. I'm way behind. Davey Deathray sends in a member chat. Thanks, Davey. Says, Dave, are you and Bruce planning on doing some press and or guest appearances on other channels to promote IMB2? If so, do you anticipate that will coincide with the release of a full trailer? We definitely will be doing that for sure. You know, I don't know when that will be yet. Obviously, the movie's still in post-production, still being put together, and sound mixing and you know, and just everything. So I don't know when that will be yet. But yes, we would love to do that, obviously. And we want to start, we want to get as much promotion as we can out there as we can. The trick with this, of course, is, you know, again, Black Christmas is so niche. So we want to be able to, you know, hopefully, Collider and Screen Rant and Bloody Disgusting and these other outlets, they have picked us up before. So hopefully they can pick us up again, being that it's the 50th year anniversary this year, obviously going on other channels, and things like that as well. I think it's important what we want to do, and I say this with all due respect to every channel that's out there. The thing that is, I think, most important for myself and Bruce is being very strategic with the channels we go on. And because a lot of the times people will just be speaking to the same audience. And so because a lot of people who follow me also follow these people. And so although we're on, say, 5 different channels, we're not reaching anybody new. And that can be problematic, especially when, you know, you want, because the whole point of going on and promote is to reach new people, right? You know, that's why they go on, you know, Fallon and then Kimmel and then Colbert and then, you know, Drew Barrymore's talk show and The View. And because although there is some overlap for sure, they are getting different audiences, right? And so that's why you don't just, you do that. But for us, in the same spaces, we want to be very strategic about it. If we were Freddy Krueger, if we were Jason Voorhees, if we were Never Hike Alone, which can, get 3 million views in its sleep because it's Jason Voorhees, that's not the only reason, but that's a big reason, right? And people are hungry for Jason, then it wouldn't matter, right? But when you're the little guy on the block, simply because of the sandbox you're playing in terms of its niche, it's very important for us to look at what channels are interested and their reach, and does this make sense for us? It's not personal, right? It's just kind of a business decision, although we're not making any money, and that kind of thing. So we haven't even thought about that yet. We've kind of just been really focusing on post-production and trying to figure that out, and what would be the best avenue for that. Like, it would be great if we could get some press and like Rue Morgue or something like that. Like, Rue Morgue is Canadian and they're based here in Toronto. And so it would be great if we could get something with, Rue Morgue as well. And just trying to reach other audiences and other people, because there's still so many people that don't even know It's Me, Billy exists because it's so niche, right? It's Black Christmas, and it really only, like, Black Christmas as a whole really only gets buzz around the holidays, right? It's not a yearly thing that people are watching like Friday the 13th, and Black Christmas too is it never spawned a franchise. So there's not all these movies and all this hype around it. So it's very tricky, but the short answer is yes, definitely. And that's not me saying that we wouldn't come on your channel or their channel or not at all. It's not me saying that. It's just me letting people know that we want to be very strategic with the channels we go on. Does this make sense? Are we reaching new people? And I don't mean we have like millions of people. I just mean, are we reaching new people? Even if that's like 10 new people that didn't even know about us or know about, whatever the case is, right? Are we reaching new people? And because that, especially for us, that's important. Because there's still people to this day that will message me or will make a comment on the Billy film and be like, I just found out about this today. I didn't even know this was like a thing. You know what I mean? And they're like, how did I? And they're a huge Black Christmas fan. Like, believe it or not, there are still gigantic Black Christmas fans of that original movie that still have no idea It's Me, Billy exists. Either because they're not, paying attention to all the forums or the movie spaces or whatever the case is. There's still a lot of people that don't know about it. Ask a Friday the 13th fan if they don't know about Never Hike Alone. You'd be hard pressed to find one, right? And that's, again, because of the IP, because of the reach, because it's Jason Voorhees, you know what I mean? But Billy and Black Christmas, much smaller, much more niche. So that's why, like, it's not hyperbole when I say we need all the help we can get, and so, if you're part of like groups that have like a horror group page that has like 500,000 followers or 100,000 followers or 20,000 followers, I always say, if you're allowed, feel free to share it. Not the Indiegogo campaign. I mean, like, share the movie. Like, hey, fans out there, check we need all the help we can get because it is niche. And so definitely, yes, we will be doing that. When and with who and how we want to structure that, I don't know, because we want to have a very strategic marketing campaign, especially because it's the 50th year anniversary. So yes, for sure. For sure. Hey, Wolfman's Got Nards just became a member. Thank you, Wolfman. Appreciate that very much. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, let me see if I can get some non-super chat ones here. Hick Film says, hey, Dave, just wanted to let you and everyone else know that I am graduating high school today. Amazing. Congratulations, buddy. The future is bright. The future is bright. Congratulations. Amazing. Yeah, I still feel like I should have done a better job on Aaron Click's question. I don't know if I did a good job on sort of tackling the crux of the question. It's just, I think I agree with what you're saying, and that is how to stop Hollywood from doing all these remakes and stuff. I guess I just feel so, I'm a bit sort of, I don't know what I'm a bit turned off by sort of the state of where some fandom is, and the vitriol and the deliberate spitefulness of to destroy a movie that has come out before it's even been made. So, like they kind of like those two things kind of are cousins of each other, and so I agree with what you're saying. I just don't know if the vast majority of the movie-going audience is mature enough to look at it from that perspective, that, hey, maybe I shouldn't go see this. They would not go see it just simply because of spite, and they would, I don't know. It's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. It's a good question, though. But, at the end of the day, if you don't want remakes, you don't like them, you don't want them, and you want Hollywood to stop making them, then you got to stop watching them. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Hollywood will not continue to make movies that do not continue to make money. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter how good it is. That's what people have to understand, is that, again, that doesn't mean that they will not take a risk on something that's really good that didn't make a lot of money, because now there's a lot of buzz around it and they feel that maybe the second one or the second season or the sequel will now make a lot of money because it was maybe a marketing thing or whatever the case is. Sure, that does happen. But generally speaking, Hollywood has dropped so many television shows and so many movies that are fantastic but just don't make any money, right? Because that's what it's about at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if there's, plot lines that are left resolved, threads that haven't been finished, character arcs that are incomplete. They don't care. If it doesn't make money, they will drop it. Now the fans care. They're like, yeah, but what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Yeah, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't make money, they don't care. They will leave people high and dry. They just don't care. There's a lot of TV shows that do that. Netflix cancels all the time. Yeah, but they don't care. Nobody's watching, so they don't care. They don't care. Now, every now and then, you will get a scenario where, if you're lucky, they will do one extra season or a short season of like 4 episodes to wrap up some loose ends. That's what happened to not Malignant. Manifest, right? You know what I mean? Like, so every now and then those things can happen, but generally speaking, it doesn't matter how good a show is. If it doesn't get an audience, they'll stop making it. So if you are somebody that really does hate remakes, just at all, it doesn't matter, then, stop contributing to them. You know what I mean? Even if that means it's Elm Street, even if that means it's Halloween, stop watching them. You know what I mean? That's just the reality. You can't bitch and moan and help support it. It doesn't make any sense, in my opinion anyway. But very few people will do that. Rick the Unlovable. Oh, Rick, you're lovable. Sends in $10. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, was wondering if you had the chance to watch Godzilla -1 when it came out in theaters. I did not. No, I have not seen Godzilla -1 yet. I am dying to see it. Of course, it is not available here yet digitally. So I'm looking for it. But I don't see it yet. So I'm not entirely sure, but yes, I definitely want to check it out. I hear great things about it. I definitely want to check it out, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to. And I think it's right up my alley in terms of more meat on the bone. See, that's the thing that I love, right? And that's like, imagine if a Friday the 13th movie or TV series could surprise you in the same ways that Godzilla -1 did. How would Friday the 13th fans feel about that? How would Friday the 13th fans feel about, again, the principle? I'm not saying the same story. I'm talking about the principle of it. You get the Godzilla shit, right? So you get the Friday the 13th stabby, stabby, stabby. We got to get that in there. But you also get meat on the bone. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that, but I think there are a lot of movie fans and Friday the 13th fans. And listen, I feel for you. I do. I totally get it, that they just don't want to take the risk. Just give me stabby, stabby, stabby. And like I said, not to beat a dead horse, okay. But if that's what you want, Jason won't be around for very long, because there is no long-term viability and longevity in that formula over and over and over again in 2024. They could deliver a movie that's just that, and it would make a lot of money opening weekend and probably do very well. But you can't make that movie 4 more times. And it almost feels like that's all Friday the 13th fans want. They don't even want Pamela. They don't want to go back. They don't fuck Pamela. I don't care about her. Just give me Jason killing kids at a camp. Really? Like, okay, but then that's what the 2009 movie was. And even the 2009 movie had a little more meat on the bone because it was about this guy who was looking for his missing sister. But that movie did really well opening weekend, and then there was an 80% drop. Look it up. An 80% drop from week 1 to week 2. Unreal. One of the biggest drops of all time at that time. So where were all the Friday the 13th fans on week 2? Where were all the, like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They can't just do that, especially in a series form. There's got to be more there. There ain't nothing wrong with delivering a Godzilla -1, Crystal Lake series. That would be wild. That'd be wild. And all these fans going, no, I just want to do. You know what's going to happen? They're going to deliver something that's going to be fucking fantastic, that's going to have more meat on the bone. You're going to care about the characters, and you're going to get your stabby and your great kills. And everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, I totally know it was going to be awesome. I knew it was going to be awesome. And like, no, you didn't. Shut up. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That's what's going to happen. That's going to happen. If you want Jason around longer than one movie, then you better hope whatever they deliver has a story. You know what I'm saying? Because Friday 5 with boobs all over and porn directors, and it ain't gonna, ooh baby, ain't gonna fly today, man. It ain't gonna fly today. Well, maybe ooh baby might, but anyway. Let me see here. Okay, hang on a sec here. Hang on. Was there a, did I miss? Oh, I thought I missed something. Maybe I did miss something. I'm not sure. Wolfman's Got Nard says, I'm glad there was no cameras when I was younger. Oh, it's true. It's true. Look, I mean, it's not that, I mean, listen, do people get crazier as the years go by? Sure. But it's not like all those videos you see of people lashing out in public or yelling at managers in stores, or, people getting into fights in restaurants or something. It's not like those things ceased to exist before cell phone cameras. No, those things always existed. I mean, maybe things have grown exponentially and they've gotten more crazy and crazier because cameras exist, because some people know they're on camera, and just the state of the world, and everybody's angry, and there's a lot of things that can drive human emotion to make people more angrier, social media, all these things, even subconsciously and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like those things didn't exist before, right? It's just now we have a device in order to be able to capture them. So it's true. People were freaking out all the time. People freaked out all the time. I mean, think back when you were a kid and all the shit you would have. Can you imagine if we had a camera right now? You know what I mean? Like, it'd just be wild. Tanner freaking Bowles, $2 says, LA or New York, which is the best for an acting career? Well, it would depend on what your goals are. I mean, if your goals are if you want to be a stage actor, then obviously you'd want to go to New York because that's where Broadway is. If you want to be a television film actor, you'd probably go to LA. But I mean, you could go to New York as well. I mean, they are the two largest centers in North America, followed closely behind by Toronto. And so, or follow closely behind is Toronto, I should say, not following closely behind Toronto. But that's what I would say. Or you could do what Harrison Ford did, and he flipped a coin, and either LA or New York, and it turned out to be LA, and he packed up his family and he drove out to LA. I think today, I mean, obviously LA is the entertainment capital of the world. That is where all the major studios are. That is where a lot of the auditions are being held. So even if you were to book a major audition and you live in New York, you may have to fly to LA for it anyway. Or vice versa. I mean, it's possible, but you would probably be flying to LA more than you'd be flying to New York. That's where all the headquarters are. That's where all the major studios are, right? Paramount, Universal, Warner, I mean, they're all there. Disney, they're all there. So all the time, so it would be in your best interest, probably, if you can afford it, to be in LA. But you have to understand that the competition is fierce. It is ruthless. It is fierce. It is unforgiving, and it's show business. And so, if you're ready for that, if you're ready for that ruthfulness, if you're ready for that kind of competition, where, you know, you got to have thick skin. And just keep in mind that most people won't make it. That doesn't mean you won't. It's just the average of it's the amount of people that are trying to the amount of people that make it, right? Most people won't make it. So, but it all depends on what your level of success is. What are your goals? Before you move to LA, you have to know, or New York, you have to know what your goals are. What are your goals? You don't just move there and just kind of see what happens, right? What are your goals, right? Do you just want to be famous? Well, start a TikTok and fart in a jar and get a lot of followings, and then you'll be famous, right? Or do you want to have a working career as an actor? Now, keep in mind, there are, SAG-AFTRA, which is the union, right? As you've heard me say, SAG-AFTRA has 150,000 members, 160,000, I think, or something like that. I mean, they have, most SAG actors are not making a living as an actor. So what that means is they have, they are unionized. They've been able to book a few unionized gigs, and they were able to then get their full SAG-AFTRA membership, which is great because then you're unionized, you get residuals, you get pension and health and all that kind of stuff. If you continue to pay, now you don't have to be as long as you continue to pay your SAG-AFTRA dues. I'm pretty sure it's the same because it's like that here in Canada with ACTRA. As long as you continue to pay your SAG-AFTRA dues every year, you don't have to act in anything, as long as you were able to book something. I'm pretty sure it's like that. So there are a lot of actors that are no longer working that are still SAG-AFTRA because they want pension, right? In health benefits and all that. But anyway, you got to know what your goals are and what your level of success, because your goals will determine your level of success, right? A lot of people use the A-list status, Ryan Reynolds, Harrison Ford, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts. That is success. And no other level beneath that is success. And if I'm not in a movie, if I have not reached, fucking Mission Impossible Part 9 starring Tom Cruise and Dave Mcrae, then I am a failure in the entertainment business. I'm a failure, and that's just it. I'm not a success. It's like, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. The vast majority of SAG-AFTRA members, only about 2%, I believe, 2 or 3%, are working actors, which means they make a living doing it, and or are A-listers. And so the vast majority of SAG actors are, character actors, you might recognize them, but they're not A-listers. They may have a part-time job. It's so you have to know, what is your goal? Because if you know your goal, then that will determine whether then you will know whether you've reached it or not. You can't just have an arbitrary sort of, I just want to move to LA and be rich and famous. It's like, well, well, then stay home. Stay home. Because that's not, you got to know, I want to be, for me, I want to direct movies, right? I'm a professional voice actor. I've worked in the entertainment business for 23 years. I've worked and continue to work at the highest levels in professional voiceover. And so, and that's great. That's great. But I'm not a multi-millionaire. I'm not living in some gigantic mansion on the cliff of fucking, Malibu, but I am a working professional at the highest level in professional voiceover. So I've made it, and I do fine. I do well. Right. And so, but now in my 40s, I'm trying to make a go at it as a filmmaker, right? Because I've always wanted to make movies ever since I was a kid. I went to film school. That's my first love is I want to make movies. And of course, would I love to have a theatrically released movie that everybody goes to see and it makes $100 million at the box office? Well, yeah, of course. But that's not my goal. My goal at this point in my life would be, you know what? I would love to be able to get paid to make a movie that everybody can see. And maybe it winds up on Prime, or maybe it winds up on Netflix, or maybe it just does a festival circuit and you can download on PVOD or something. I don't know. I want to make movies that I'm passionate about, stories that I'm passionate about, and I can get paid to do it. Notice I said I can get paid to do it. Not I can make millions of dollars to do it. I can get paid as a working director, as a working filmmaker. Because right now with the two, Billy films, I'm a filmmaker. They're professional movies, 100%, but I haven't been paid to make them because I can't legally, because they're not-for-profit tribute fan films, right? So they're professional movies, totally pro, 100%, but because of the genre it falls into in not-for-profit tribute, right? I, as a producer, because I'm a producer on it, I can't make any money from it. So I've made zero on it, which is why after Billy 2 is out in the ether, Bruce and I will then turn to making original films, whether that's movies we direct together, whether that's movies I direct and he produces, or he directs and I produce, because we both have our solo projects that we want to do as well. And because we want to be able to make a movie, get paid to make it, and seek distribution, right? And so that's kind of where my mind is. And if I make millions of dollars, that's amazing. But I just want to make a living making movies, right? What I'm really passionate about. So knowing that's my goal, right? And moving into it and working towards it and meeting other passionate people and making movies and just doing what you love, then that's your level of success, right? And then everything beyond that is icing. And then if I happen to make a movie that really resonates with people and it does the festival circuit and there's a lot of buzz around it, like, what those Australian guys did with, Talk to Me, maybe that'll happen with me. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen with Bruce. I mean, who knows, right? There's always that possibility. It gets a lot of buzz and then all of a sudden I'm working with A24. It's like, what the fuck? This is what you never know. And you can maybe have that as a nice kind of, that would be kind of cool. That would be awesome. But I always caution people to have it as the litmus test for whether you're good or not, whether you're good enough or not, or whether you've achieved success or not. Because if that's the litmus test, no, it is either I make a movie that makes $100 million at the box office, or I'm dog shit. I'm just dog shit. I'm just dog shit. There's just no in between. I'm just dog shit. It's like, no, that's most filmmakers will never have a movie that makes $100 million at the box office, right? And so that can't be the litmus test. So anyways, I know I've went off on a tangent here, but it's a good question, New York or LA, that has a lot of variables to it. And, it's in Canada, that question is Toronto or Vancouver, right? And because I was already in the Toronto area and I was born in the Toronto area, it was a no-brainer that, I'm just going to stay in Toronto, right? And, but if I lived in, say, Saskatchewan, it would be, do I go to Toronto or do I go to Vancouver, right? In the States, it's New York or LA. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to know your goals, what your goals are, what you want to achieve that would make you happy. And if it is, no, I want to be fucking Christopher Nolan. I want to be Christopher Nolan, and I know I can be Christopher Nolan. Okay, well, good luck and all power to you. And I sincerely mean that. That's awesome. That's totally awesome. But just know that there's a lot of hard work ahead of you. And you need to also enjoy the process. If you're not enjoying the process, and that means the journey. If you're not enjoying the journey, then what are you doing? Like, the other day, I posted about this on social media, but David Fernandez, who was our first AD on It's Me Billy Chapter 2, is currently spearheading his second season of Creepy Bits. And a lot of the same crew that worked on Billy is working on Creepy Bits Season 2, which is awesome. And he invited myself and Bruce down to SP Studios here in Toronto and to watch them work on a visual production stage, a volume. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's awesome. And so we went down and we got to sit in on episode 3 or 4, I think it was. And they were shooting on the volume, and I met the director and I met, the producers and met some of the crew that of course worked with us on Billy. And they were like, hey, what's going on, we were there all day, and to sit down and watch them, and it's fucking, like, the volume is pretty fucking cool, I will say. And just that experience, just that experience alone was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of my journey, right? That's part of my journey as a filmmaker. And I was so thankful that he invited us down and got to meet new people, new filmmakers that we were able to connect with on social media, whether it was a producer, a script supervisor, whatever the case is. Met a couple people from it was just a cool, like, that's part of the journey. That's part of your journey, is networking and going to places like this, developing relationships. That's another big thing that's important. Developing relationships. You can have all the talent in the world, but if all you do is stay home and feel that people should just know your talent, nobody's going to know who you are. There are Steven Spielberg's, Christopher Nolan's, and Daniel Day-Lewis's right now, this very second, working at McDonald's, working at Walmart. Right now, this very second. And it's either because they don't have the desire or the passion, or because they feel that they just should be discovered somehow and they don't put themselves out there. So you have to, you can't have an ego. You have to understand where you are, and you got to put yourself out there and meet different people that share your passion and things like that. And I was so thankful that David invited us down to be able to sit in on a episode of Creepy Bits season 2. And because it was a valuable, not just to learn how the volume is done. And I got so many ideas of how I could use the volume now too. But just be able to and to meet the people that work there as well, and to make a connection with SP Studios and and all that. Like, it's all about developing and building relationships and making those connections that can help you progress in certain areas. And anyway, I know I'm giving you all this crazy ass advice that you didn't ask for, but Dave, I just was wondering, New York or LA? But it's a nuanced question that requires a nuanced response, because there are so many things to keep in mind. It's not, so yeah, know your goals, know what you want, and enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, because it's the journey and the process that is the most exciting part, for sure. Anyway, okay, sorry about going off on such a tangent there about that. Let me see here. Edward Nito, my Godzilla brother from another mother, sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dave, watching the team surpass the Indiegogo goal for It's Me Billy Chapter 2 inspired me to set goals for myself. Amazing. That's awesome. I was offered a prominent role at work and I accepted. Thank you for all that you've done for the Mcrae team. Cheers, my friend. Dude, that is amazing. That is really awesome. That's really awesome that what we were able to do and inspired you to do that. That's so cool. And I wish you the best of luck with it, man. I wish you the best of luck. Yeah, look, raising money, crowdfunding is really awesome. And I really enjoy the process because I'm able to connect with you guys, and it's interactive, and you're part of that success. You have direct influence on whether the movie gets made or not. You know what I mean? I mean, as a fan, generally speaking, you have no, unless you are the production company or the studio and you are actually financing it, you have no direct influence on whether or not the movie gets made in terms of, helping to supply the resources and the money and all that kind of stuff. With crowdfunding, that is the case. Even if you donate $25, that $25 goes towards the production budget. Your name goes into the end credits. You have direct influence on whether the movie gets made. So there is a real cool aspect about crowdfunding and like that. However, as much as I love you guys and I've really enjoyed the crowdfunding process, it is definitely not something I want to do all the time. I definitely want to be able to move away from crowdfunding because, that is a whole other aspect. That's a whole lot. It's a whole other thing. There's a lot of work around that too, right? And so definitely the goal in the future would be to partner with a production company, that can help raise funds for a feature film or a show or whatever the case is, right? And and then that way you don't have to worry. As much as I love sending out perks, you don't have to worry about doing that, because that's another factor that you have to factor in, right? And all that kind of stuff. And it's a whole thing. And so crowdfunding is great. And certainly if you can do it, that's awesome. But I think to be able to focus solely on the creative, during the whole process would be great too. But that's awesome, man. That it inspired you. I think that's really cool. It's really cool. Let me see here. Scroll down. Scared Straight Production says, Dave, do you remember which video had the Indiegogo where someone dropped like 10K where you went apeshit? Well, I don't, but I can tell you when we crossed 100,000 was the Jaws 2 live stream. So if you type in Dave Mcrae Jaws 2, it was a live stream. It's not a Mcrae live. It was a live stream from June of 2023. So that's when we passed that for sure. Antonis Andriotis sends in $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dave, do you collect physical media and do you watch it as well? I do. Well, I used to collect physical media a lot, and I don't buy digital movies. I don't have any digital movies. I will rent digital movies. Like I will rent a movie from YouTube or Prime or something like that. But I've never purchased one. I really do like physical media. I come from that era, of course. I like the tangibility of it and smelling although now, they're not as cool as they once were when they first came out. But I do have a lot of physical media, but not not as much as you might expect. I have probably maybe 350, 400 VHS tapes from way back in the day. Maybe I have between DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks, maybe 300 or 400. It's not an enormous amount, thousands or something like that. And I haven't bought a Blu-ray or 4K in quite a bit. But so my collecting of physical media has kind of waned off over the years. But certainly in my teens and 20s and 30s, I did. Yeah, I was always going down to HMV in Toronto or Sun Records in Toronto or Sunrise Records, I should say, and buying the Blu-rays or whatever, the box sets. I still would love. There are some box sets I would love. I'd love the Friday the 13th box set for sure. And if they ever do a 4K Elm Street box set, I would like that. The only thing I have the Blu-rays for Elm Street, but the only thing I don't like is when you do the Blu-ray transfer, you see a lot of the wires and a lot of the effects, and I can't fucking stand that. I don't like that. It disappoints me that they don't spend the money and go back in and paint those out again. If you're going to take the time and spend the money to do a Blu-ray transfer of an older film that has effects with wires like The Exorcist or Elm Street 3 or, whatever, then spend the money, go back in and paint them out again, because it takes me out of the movie. As much as I love The Exorcist, as much as I believe it is and think it is, it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's one of the great great movies of all time. It frustrates me that when I watch that movie on Blu-ray, the levitation scene with Reagan, if you look closely, now it depends on the size of the screen you're watching it on, right? If you have a huge TV, which I do, if you're watching on your phone, you probably won't see this, but if you're watching on a big screen, when Reagan levitates, if you look closely, you can see the wires. And I'm like, fuck. Same thing in Elm Street 3 when he picks up the Wizard Master and he picks him up and he's holding him there. And there's that shot kind of where they're in the frame, together. You can see the wires. They're clear as day. And I'm just like, fuck, I wish they would go back, spend the money, go back in and paint it out. I really wish they would do that. Do what they did. I mean, obviously the process is a bit different today, but do what you did when you first did it, way back in the day, because it's not and do it again, because through the high definition transfer, we are now seeing more and we're seeing it's getting rid of that effect. And so that always frustrates me. I'll be honest with you, watching a 4K transfer of a movie that's 5 years old, I don't I don't notice much, but there are some beautiful 4K transfers, but then they get to a moment where you're like, I feel that way about Empire Strikes Back. When Luke is when he's on Dagobah and he's upside down and he's meditating and the rocks begin to levitate. If you look closely, you can see the little string, lifting the rocks up. And I'm like, fuck, go in and paint that out. Yes, it's going to cost money, but if you're going to spend all this money doing this beautiful transfer of this old movie, Go back in and paint out the fucking wires. I don't understand it. It makes no fucking sense to me, and it frustrates me as a fan of those movies. All right. Do I have all the super chats? Hang on. Just want to make sure I've got them all. I just want to make sure I've got them all. 1 second. Yes, it looks like I have. It looks like I have. It looks like I have. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Ladies and germs. Oh, we've been going an hour and a half already. Wow. Let me see here. Brandon Collins says they did that with Blade Runner. You no longer see the wires when the spinner takes up. That's great. That's awesome. They need to do that with everything. As far as I'm concerned, they need to do that with everything. WHP says, I think most big horror movies don't cross 100 million at the box office. Well, it depends. Are you talking about domestic or global? Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, most horror movies probably don't reach those heights, and they don't have to because their budgets are so small. But it depends. I mean, but I guarantee you a Friday the 13th movie with Jason could cross, I don't know about 100 million domestic, but certainly it could cross, well, maybe, but certainly 100 million worldwide for sure. I mean, even the 2009 film made like 120 million worldwide. So even the Elm Street, did the Elm Street remake make over 100 million? Let me see here. Freddy Krueger never does as well as Jason and Michael. It never does. Hang on. Elm Street 2010. Box office. Elm Street 2010 made, it did. Made 115 million worldwide, $63 million domestic, $52 million international. So again, it depends what you're talking about, right? You know what I mean? Halloween 18 made $252 million or $55 million, the highest grossing slasher in motion picture history. So yes, I kind of disagree with what you're saying, but I get with what you're saying. Most horror movies don't make $100 million at the box office. That's true. That's probably true. There's probably an air of truth to that. But if you're talking about a proven IP, then I would say that, like, if it's Freddy or Jason or Halloween, even Halloween Ends made over 100 million. Tony Movie Chappie 199 says, thoughts on The Thing 2011 prequel? I thought it was okay. It was okay as like a standalone sort of thing, but I didn't think it was anything crazy to sneeze at. Ghostface says, Dave, did you see the new Strangers? I did not, and I will be not. I will be not. I will not be. Not a movie that interests me to go see it. Again, it's important for, and I know that a lot of my viewers know this, but I talked about this at the beginning of the show, so I won't beat a dead horse, but I will just say that just because a horror movie is coming out doesn't mean that I'm going to go see it. I rarely go. The marketing has to be terrific. I have to want to go see that movie. And the new Strangers Chapter 1 just looks like a run-of-the-mill pedestrian Hollywood horror movie that doesn't interest me, and it looks like a lesser quality version of the one that I do like from 2008. So I have no interest in it. I'll see it when it comes to, streaming or something like that. There are fans that go see everything and anything in the theater. All power to you. But to get me to go to the theater, and I love the movie theater, I do. It's not a cost thing. It's not an experience thing. It's my favorite way to watch a movie. But if I'm going to go watch a movie, there's got to be something in that trailer or marketing that makes me go, I got to go fucking see that. I want to go see. I want the ultimate experience. I want the ultimate movie-going experience to watch this horror movie. Unless it's something like Halloween or Friday or Elm Street, where you're going purely because it's Michael, Jason, and Freddy, and you're going because of the nostalgia, and you know what I'm saying? For me. But no, it takes a lot to get me to go to the movie theater to see a horror movie, believe it or not. Let me see here. Brandon Collins says Friday 13th, 2009 made 92 million. Oh, did it? 92 million worldwide? Oh, I thought it made more than that. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. There you have it. there you have it, ladies and germs. Kenny Fame, I honestly never understood the hate for 09's Friday the 13th. Listen, I don't think... I don't know. Yeah, there are people that hate it. Listen, I don't hate it, but I don't care about it. You know, it doesn't... It's just kind of there. Look, Derek Mears is a terrific Jason. Terrific Jason. I think the mask is great. He looks great. But the story in the movie itself is just kind of, yeah. Like, I don't want to see that again. Like, is that what Friday the 13th fans want? They just want another 09 movie of kids at a camp? Jason getting killed? Like, it's just weird. I think, and maybe I'm putting a little too much stock into this, I would like to believe that Friday the 13th fans are better than that. And I think they want more. I think Friday fans want more. But they are scared. They're scared and desperate. They are scared and desperate. And when fans are scared and desperate, they are more likely just to take anything thrown at them that is in a movie. And I really believe that if you were to really dive into the deep core of Friday the 13th fans, love and fandom, you would find that they probably all don't just want Jason killing kids at a camp. That's what they want. They do want that. But I think they're smart enough to know, at least I would like to believe they are, that if that was truly all that was delivered, you're going to be in trouble again. But I think they're scared. They're scared because they've seen what happened with Elm Street in 10. They saw what happened with Halloween Ends. They saw what happened with Child's Play, the remake, even though there are a lot of people that do like it. They've seen this and they don't want anybody to be avant-garde. They don't want anybody to be cutesy and things. And they don't realize that I and even others agree with them. Yes, nobody wants The Last Jedi. Nobody wants things to be cutesy and turning this into some cerebral The Shining or Dr. Sleep. No, we're all in agreement there. And I think fans are willing to sacrifice. I don't think they're willing to take I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to take the risk that A24 comes in, or Brian Fuller, because like I said, Brian Fuller, all you fans, Brian Fuller, he was going to put more meat on the bone. So, you weren't going to get just stabby with him. So all of you that were like, fuck, I want Brian Fuller on board. Well, you do know that he was going to give you more. You weren't just going to get stabby with him. He was, so I do think that's the right way to go. But I think fans are so scared, they're not even willing to take the risk. Even me just saying more meat on the bone is triggering to Friday the 13th fans. Me just saying, I think there should be more meat on the bone. That's not me saying it has to be The Shining. It has to be Hereditary. I think they should do what they did with Halloween Ends and introduce some nobody. And then that's not me saying that. More meat on the bone. There is a Rolodex of what that means, right? And so many different ways that you can achieve that. And I think Friday the 13th fans deep down in their core know that. They're not stupid. Horror fans aren't stupid. Well, I mean, some maybe. But I'm just saying, they're a little cray-cray. They're a little crazy. They're crazy. A lot of horror fans can be crazy and really, and then there are some that take this shit way too seriously. Read some of the comments, but from the wild, crazy trolls. But Friday the 13th fans, I think deep down, they understand what that means. Like they get what that means. And I don't think they they really in their core just want Stabby. I think they communicate that. They say that verbally. They say it in tweets. They say it in arguments. They say it in verbal, or in debates on Twitter or in Facebook pages or whatever the case is. They just need to do this. They say that because they're scared. They say that as a means of a way of communicating, don't do this. And so they willow it down to the most simplistic, basic thing, which is stabby, Jason kids at a camp. They say that as a way of somehow clearly communicating what they don't want rather than what they do. But in reality, I would like to think that most Friday the 13th fans understand that in 2024, it can't just be that and survive a whole new reinvention of a series. I think most fans know that, but they're scared. They're scared, and any mention of meat on the bone or the word evolve or the word elevate. Elevate doesn't mean hereditary. Elevate doesn't, mean that now we're going to send Friday the 13th into some sort of condescending, pretentious, cerebral zone. It doesn't mean that. It can mean that, but it doesn't automatically mean that. There's many different levels of elevation in between stabby and some sort of pretentious, condescending, A24 filmers. There's many different levels that even A24 can achieve in that, right? Brian Fuller said he was going to elevate and evolve it, right? So anyways, again, I go off on a tangent, but I would like to believe that most Friday fans understand that. And if you were to sit them down, have a beer, they would go, yeah, no, I get it. I'm just fucking worried, man. I'm just scared. Like, I don't want them to fucking do this and this. Just give me Jason killing kids at a cat. Like, it's their way of saying, don't do anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I think they do understand that they've got to deliver more than just that. You know what I mean? Unless all you care about is just Jason back for like a year. Okay. But I don't think you want Jason, to visit. I think you want him back. So anyway. Chuck M5053 sends in $10. Thanks, buddy. He says, hey, Dave, have you ever seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe? I have. Terrific film. Pretty good, slow burn, kind of a horror movie. Yeah, it is. Also, I think I mentioned before, Dead and Buried. Good 80s horror with decent mood and atmosphere. Yes, you have. Haven't checked it out yet, though. But yes, The Autopsy of Jane Doe I thought was terrific. I thought it was great. Great slow burn, great atmosphere, great location. Again, like a centralized location, which was great. Yeah, it was creepy. It was eerie. I watched that movie like 2 years ago, maybe. I can't remember now, but I thought it was really good. For sure. Frank Riker, what's going on? Frank says, hopefully we get some trauma in the new Friday the 13th series. Well, Frank, that's exactly what I think Friday fans think. When they hear elevate and they know A24 is involved, they think it's going to be some sort of, but it doesn't mean that. It can, but it doesn't automatically mean that. And if you want Jason around, then there's got to be, like I said, imagine a Godzilla -1 Friday the 13th series. You get heart, you get character development, you care about the characters, and you get stabby, blood, and maybe even a boob. You know what? You can have both. It's not one or the other. You can have both. But the kind of Friday the 13th movie, and if you don't want that at all, then maybe it's best to leave Friday the 13th in the past. And it's best to leave it in the 80s. It's definitely a product of its time. Maybe Freddy and Jason and in part even Michael, maybe they just don't work today. And maybe it's best to just kind of leave it, because how many times can you reboot something? How many times can you remake something? Before it's just kind of like, I'll be very curious to see what this Halloween series is like. I don't know. Hang on a sec. Did I get that one? Hang on. I want to make sure I haven't missed a super chat here. I think I got that one. Hang on. Tony Chappie, yes, comes in. Mr. Chappie, $9.99. Thank you. Says, I don't understand why when people say that they hate this franchise or this director's filmography, but they still will watch it despite not being a fan. And it's like, why do you even bother watching it? Yeah, well, you know, again, to break that down, right? There's so many layers to what you just said there. You know, there's so many variables, right? So there are people that don't like a franchise, that don't particularly like a director, but will watch it, will watch their next movie or watch the next movie in the franchise because they hope that maybe, even if they don't realize this consciously, you know, maybe it's more of a subconscious thing, they hope that this is the one. You know, maybe this is the one that wins me over. And this is the one that makes me go, you know what I'm saying? There's also a certain section of the population, fandom, that wants to feel like they are a part of something. They don't want to feel left out. They want to feel like they are a part of it. They're in on it. They're in the know. So they will watch movies that even they don't want to watch, so they can, you know, feel like they can contribute in the comments, you know, or in the chat room, or in the comments, or on Twitter, or in Facebook. They want to be informed on some sort of level, so they will watch. And it makes them feel a part of something, a part of a fandom, a part of a community in that regard. And so that can happen too. And, you know, I like to whittle it down to like the most basic sort of raw thing that most people don't do, which is, if you don't like this franchise, or you don't like that they're continuing to make it, then don't go see it and don't go watch it. It's something that most people say it, but most people don't do it. Like, I hated The Last Jedi. I didn't like it. I bought The Force Awakens because I liked it. I even bought The Rise of Skywalker. I did not buy The Last Jedi. I paid for it once. I didn't buy it. Why? Well, because I don't like the movie. But then there are some people out there that call themselves completists. So they will buy, you know, everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because they want to have everything. They want to have it all. And so there are those people. There's many different types of fans. That's the thing that people have to understand, right? I think fandom would be a less toxic place and a less toxic environment if we all just understood that I'm not a better fan than you. You're not a better fan than me. We're just, our experiences with the movies are also different. There's many variables. It's like, you know, I'm 45 next week. Okay. Well, if you're 25, my experience with the Halloween franchise is a very different experience than your experience with the Halloween franchise. Even if we are the same age, our experiences might be different. When I started liking Michael Myers, there were only 2 Michael Myers movies. When I got into Freddy Krueger, there was only 1 Freddy Krueger movie. You know, when I got into Jason, there were probably only 3 Jason movies. You know, and so my experience growing up with horror or with these characters is very different than, say, somebody who got into horror in the 90s, right? And to where maybe their first Halloween movie was Halloween H2O, you know, and maybe the first Halloween movie they ever saw in the movie theater was Rob Zombie's Halloween. That's a very different experience, a very different, like, there might be certain principles that are the same, right? Maybe your mother introduced it to you, or you had an older sibling, you know, all that can be the same, but our journeys can be very different. And, you know, and what we like is different, right? Like me at 45, I'm a different movie fan. I'm a different horror fan. Like me saying it takes a lot for me to go to the movie theater now to watch a horror movie that doesn't make me less of a horror fan because, you know, compared to somebody who goes and watches everything. So not at all. Am I less of a horror fan than somebody who goes and watches all the horror movies in the movie theater? No. Are they less of a horror fan than me? No. Are they more of a horror fan? No. It's just different strokes for different folks. I might be more picky than they are. They have different standards than me. Listen, that's another thing too. Everybody has different standards. I have high standards, right? But there are people that have different standards. They might have lower standards, right? There's me where it's like, yeah, I really don't care if they make another Halloween movie with Michael Myers ever again in the history of time. Does that make me not a Halloween fan? No. That makes me a fulfilled Halloween fan, a complete Halloween fan. I'm good. Of course, I'll be there day one when it comes out because I'm a Halloween fan. But if they never made another Michael Myers movie or television show, I would be okay because I have everything. I have the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm okay. But then there are some Halloween fans that just want more, right? So I just feel that, our fandom and our circles would be so much less toxic if we all could just agree that we're all just different, and if I rag on something or I rib on a movie that you love, that's not me saying you're a piece of shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it can be personal for a lot of people. That's one of the big, you've heard me talk about that, before too. That's one of the big things in fandom. One of the big things in fandom is disassociating somebody's hatred for a movie from, it being personal, right? Because that can be really, really hard. And so, but yeah, no, there's a lot of, as you can see, right? There's a lot of variables on how fandom works and the reasons for it and things like that. But the big thing I wish fandom, and I wish my channel was bigger so I could get this message out to more people. But the big thing I've always wished is that fans can understand that, just because I have a platform and I'm on social media or I work in the film industry, and I'm whatever, does not make me more of a fan than you. And just because you don't doesn't make you less of a fan than me. You know what I'm saying? We're all movie fans. Now I might know a bit more about the process and the business side of things than the average, movie fan, but that doesn't make me more of a fan. Do you know what I mean? There are things that I like more than maybe, like, there are things that we can be more fans of and less fans of, but it doesn't make us better than each other. Do you know what I mean? And there's this thing that people, it's so personal. It's so personal with fandom. The manufactured outrage is just so ridiculous. It's like, shut the fuck up. I don't have time for that shit. Like, anybody who comes in here or makes and it's not too often now, to be honest with you, but I'm just like, that just doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? All the personal attacks and things like that. It's like, dude, like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Anyway, I digress. It's a good question though. Oh, hang on a sec here. Did I get that? Lee the Machine Bowers. What's going on, Lee? Great to see you here. Sends in a member chat. Says, Dave, my man, I seen that I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot getting a release July 18th, 2025. I wonder if Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. Can come to a deal to return. I think it is a foregone conclusion that they will return. This is not me making any sort of announcement, but I do not see how you do a I Know What You Did Last Summer, legacy sequel, which I think this will be for all intents and purposes. Especially off the heels of the failed Amazon series, and not bring back what will no doubt be the box office draw, which will be Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. They will be all over the marketing. They will be why 45-year-old men like me go to the movie theater, is to see Jennifer Love Hewitt. That is why. And so I don't understand why you would not do everything you possibly can to get them to be in it. And I say this with all due respect to them, of course, because I like them both. But what else are they doing? In terms of, like, they're not like tied down to some big Marvel thing or whatever. Hewitt's on 911 and Freddie Prinze is doing his thing too. But I think there is probably room in their schedules a year from now, or not a year from now, obviously. That's when the movie comes out. But in terms of when they would shoot it, probably later this year, early next year, it makes sense. And my only thing would be is that I hope it is not an Ellen Burstyn situation with The Exorcist Believer, where they are in it, but not very long. I don't care if they die. I really don't, because again, it's not that legacy characters die, it's how they die. If the writing is really good and it makes sense and it's emotional and it's a great sacrifice or something, I'm all for it. But the situation is, I hope it's not like they're on screen. Like, I hope it's not a situation where, and this will likely be the situation where, the fisherman's back, or a fisherman is back, terrorizing a new group of kids that have this accident. And of course they have to seek out, Julie and whatever his name was in the movie. Fred? No, that's his real name. Jimmy? Fred? I forget his name in the movie. Chat room will let me know. They have to, reach out to him. And they have to, because they've been through this before. So they go and they meet, the legacy characters, and the legacy characters share their advice and wisdom on how to defeat the fishermen. And that is no doubt probably going to be the structure. Like, I don't think Ray, thank you. Yeah, Ray, that's right. I don't think that this is going to be, I don't know, but I don't think this is going to be a movie centered around Julie and Ray, like how Halloween 18 was for Jamie Lee Curtis. Maybe, but I think it is a more likely scenario that it will be a Scream situation where something happens on the 4th of July, a year later, they get a message, I know what you did last summer. And the new cast of characters have to then seek out Julie and Ray in order for their help. That is usually how these things go. And listen, just because it's a little pedestrian, if it's really good and it's it's creepy and it's eerie and the writing is good. I'm not saying it's got to be Shakespeare, but I just mean it's good. It's good. It's a serviceable, like Scream 5. You know what I mean? It's good. Then all power to them. But then you've got to deliver Julie and Ray in it. I think if you really want to utilize, like I hope they're utilized well. If that's the story, I hope they're utilized well. And I would imagine that they'll probably be estranged, or maybe it's one of their kids, right? Maybe it'll be, Julie and Ray. Maybe that'll be it. It'll be Julie and Ray, after I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, went off and got married. They had a kid. And, but now in 2024 or 25, they're divorced, they're separated, for whatever reason. And the kid is in college, and their kid has a similar experience. And their kid then, has to reach out to mom and dad are a bit estranged, but this experience brings mom and dad back together again, and they have to work together, even though they're a bit estranged, and then they may not, like each other. They have to work together for the health of their daughter or their son or something, you know what I mean? And maybe that's the story, but whatever it is, I imagine it will be something like that, in that vein somehow. And I just hope that they're in it longer than Sydney was in Scream 5. But maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, we'll see. But do I think they'll be in it? Yeah, of course. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me to deliver and I Know What You Did Last Summer movie without them, especially off the heels of the failure of the Amazon series. I don't know how you do this movie without them. I really don't. You don't need them both. Like if one was like, I don't, but between them both, you need Jennifer Love Hewitt. You need Jennifer. If Freddie Prinze Jr. was like, nah, I don't want to do it. Okay. All right. It'd be stronger with him. Potentially. It would be stronger with him. But if he's not in it, it's not the end of the world. You need Jennifer Love Hewitt in that movie. You need her in that movie. So whatever her agent is demanding, as long as it's reasonable with it, obviously, and it's not going to be huge, right? They might make this movie for like 15 million, and total production cost, maybe 20 if they have shit on the water, and that's going to up their budget. But and Jennifer Love Hewitt, it's not like she can demand a lot. She's not an A-list in-demand actress, so nobody's going to be paying her $10 million to be in the movie. Maybe low million. She might get, $2 million for it or something, maybe, who knows. If that, but you need her in it. You need her in that movie. If she's not in it, don't even fucking bother doing the movie. I don't know who this is for then. I really don't. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh, and says, have you ever had a job you just did for the money, or have you always been passionate no matter the job? Oh yeah, like all my retail jobs. Like when I was growing up, I mean, whether it was, I worked at Walmart, I worked at a movie theater. Well, the movie theater I really liked because it was a movie theater. I worked at a movie theater as a teenager in the 90s, and that was when like those big Coliseum style like those multiplexes were opening up. Because back in the 80s, a movie theater might have like 6 theaters, you know what I mean? And it was like the old school kind of theaters, right? But in the 90s, that's when they started to open up like those big multiplexes where you could get like New York fries and Baskin Robbins and popcorn, you know what I mean? And then they had like 24 movie theaters, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Like basically what is a standard now was really new in the 90s. And I remember applying for a summer job there, and that was cool because it was the movies, you know what I mean? So I can't say I did that just for the money. And it's not like that. And at that time, like, well, I don't know, what the hell was I getting? $5 an hour? I don't know. But I also worked at McDonald's for a summer when I was a teenager, and that was just purely for the money, I guess. But when you say, yeah, so I can't say that I've ever had, because I mean, I worked at McDonald's, I worked at a movie theater, I shoveled snow off an outdoor rink for a winter. That was kind of fun because I would always do it on a day that I was planning to go out and play hockey anyway. So, and then I worked at Walmart. That was definitely just because I needed a part-time. I needed a part-time job while I was pursuing, because when I left college in 2001, that's when I worked at Walmart. I worked in the garden center. Because I was pursuing my career in the entertainment business. So I was new, right? I was like, it was it was either waiting tables or getting a job at Walmart or whatever the case is, right? You needed a job. And so, but that was just purely for the money, I guess, because I needed to pay rent and all that kind of stuff. And then I also worked at Rogers Video. Rogers Video, for my American friends, was the Canadian Blockbuster. We also had Blockbuster up here as well, but there was also their competition was Rogers Video, and I worked at Rogers Video for about 2 years, and then it was in 2006 when I finally went full time as a voice actor. So I haven't had like a real regular job, if you will, like a 9-to-5 job in 2019, in 18 years. I've been a full-time voice actor working in the entertainment business for 18 years. And so, and now of course I'm starting to pursue the filmmaking side. So yeah, I don't think I've never had a job that I didn't like that I've done just for the money because the money was really good. You know what I mean? You could say that I worked retail because I needed the money to pay rent, but it's not like I was making a lot of money working at Walmart, right? So I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I had to have a job. And then I was finally in 2006, I was making enough money where I could leave Walmart, and I was sustaining it. And then I haven't looked back. So, but there's never been, I guess you could say like early on in my voiceover career, like now being established, I can pick and choose, right? Things can come in and I can be like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But we're going to, myself and my agents will negotiate, obviously higher. And if it's not within their budget, then they can't have me. And then I just say, no, I'm not going to do it for that. And that's happened. Where sometimes my agent will present something to me and I'll say, well, I'm not going to do it for any less than, X. And they go back and they say, well, no, we don't have X, but we really love Dave. And I'd be like, well, you can't, I can't, this is show business. If you want it, this is how much it costs to. Now, I couldn't do that when I first started out because I was starting out. I didn't have a portfolio. I didn't have a history. I hadn't established, relationships, right? So I couldn't demand, no, you're going to pay me this because of this, because, but now as being established and having, a portfolio and now I can demand more because of the history. But I don't know if there's ever a point where I've done something just for the money. I don't think so. Pedro's Lacario, is that how you say that? Pedro Lacario? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Says, love the Halloween series, but won't watch the Rob Zombie films. Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Hey, but you know what? And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, and like I said, that doesn't make you more of a fan or less of a Halloween fan than somebody who does, right? We're just all different. Why can't we all be different? Why are there fans out there that get their goddamn knickers in a twist and their noses up in the air over different fans or people that just like different things? I've never, ever on this channel said that just because I think Halloween, Resurrection or 5 is it is dog shit. I don't say that those who like it are dog shit. Not at all. But that can be hard for fans to differentiate because they feel so passionate. An attack on their favorite movie is an attack on them. And that is something that is rampant through fandom. And there's psychological and sociological reasons for that. Like, it totally makes sense. It's not silly. It's not a silly position to take. It's not a silly thing to feel or think at all. There are reasons why that is a real phenomenon, for sure, right? There's many reasons. But in reality, and maybe there are people out there that do say that. Hey, listen, I don't like Halloween 5, but if you do, you're a piece of shit. Well, okay, they're just pieces of shit, so don't worry about that. And you can rib on movies. Like I said, hey, I'm a huge fan of Avatar, right? And if you want to rib on Avatar and call it Ferngully in space and James Cameron this, and it's nothing but funny blue people dressed as cats or blue that look like whatever the weird, you could, I get it, you totally do it, but I love it. And you ripping on Avatar, it doesn't make me, love it any less. You know what I mean? So I mean, I just wish more fans could get to a place where we could have fun with our fandom. Have fun with our fandom and our exchanges and our debates and our like, oh no, you hate Halloween 5, dude. I love Halloween 5. And I'm like, you love, no, come on, wait. You love Halloween 5? Dude, I love Halloween 5. Look at Barry and I. Barry, Wolfman's Got Nards, loves Halloween H2O. He's a huge Halloween H2O fan. He loves Halloween H2O. I don't hate Halloween H2O. I like to rib Halloween H2O, but I certainly don't hate it. But there's definitely a lot of things in it I do not like that Barry loves. But Barry and I have fun with each other. I'm telling you, it makes it fun. It makes it fun. I don't think Barry's a piece of crap because he loves the way that, he loves the big eye holes in Halloween H2O. I don't think that. Barry, it's fine. He loves it. I celebrate that. That's amazing. I don't. And he's like, that's great. And we can have fun and we can debate and we can talk and we be like, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? I mean, Barry, I know, is not that far behind me in age. So, we probably grew up at a different time. It was very different when we were kids. You know what I mean? And now, it's just like, what that? Why are people losing their shit? Like Cody Leach shared some tweets the other day on Twitter, some of the lambasting he's getting over his movie opinions. And it's just like, calm the fuck down, dude. Like, it's just, we're having fun. It's wild to me. Listen, if you feel passionately about me, if you hate my fucking guts, you can't stand Dave Mcrae and you can't stand my opinion. First of all, what the hell are you doing watching me? I win. But second of all, hey, reach out to me. Send me a Facebook message. Say, Dave, I can't stand your guts and I want to come on your show. You're invited, man. I'd love to have you on as a guest. You'll come on a Mcrae Live. We'll duke it. We'll pick a topic. We'll pick a Halloween movie and we'll duke it out. And you know what is about, and you know what is likely to happen? You know what is likely to happen? We're going to find that we're actually not that far apart after all. That is usually always the case because the people that get their knickers in a twist and get their noses in the air, generally speaking, it's not really about the content. It's about the way that things are phrased or said, right? It's not that they hate me. It's not that they think I'm a condescending, pretentious dick. They may think they think that, but in reality, what it is, they just don't like my presentation, or they don't like the way I say something, or they don't like the way how loud I am, or whatever the case is, right? So it gets them, it can be off-putting to them. And for some people it can be, right? So they I don't like this, I don't like him. But in reality, if we actually sat down, even not on this channel, we met at a convention, we sat down at the bar, had a beer, we'd be laughing, we'd be hanging out, because then you get to see the real people. Right? You get to see real people and real environments. And you realize, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all fucking fans. We're all horror fans. We're all movie fans. We all love these movies and these franchises passionately. And we all have our differences and what we like and what we don't like. But at the end of the day, we all come together and we celebrate that. And that's usually what ends up happening. Somebody who hates your fucking guts, that's usually what happens. It's usually what happens. I mean, not all the time, but it's usually what happens, because you realize, wow, at the end of the day, we're all just, having fun being movie fans. And but man, some of the people that take this shit so seriously, it is like religion to them. And it's like, God, it's unreal. It's unreal. Fox Gaming sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. He says, Dave, if you can choose 4 characters in pop culture to form a group to survive a zombie apocalypse alongside you, who would you go with? Oh, boy. I would go with... I'm going to go with Indiana Jones. Got to go with Indiana Jones. I would go with MacGyver from the 80s TV show, because he could make a bomb out of a coat hanger. I don't know how he does that. I'm just picking random shit. I'm going to pick Arnold Schwarzenegger from True Lies. Why not? I'm going to pick, this would be epic, Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop. And Rambo. There you go, Rambo. So we got, or no, maybe instead of True Lies, maybe Dutch from Predator. Yeah. So we got Rambo, we got Dutch from Predator, we got Axel Foley, Indiana Jones, and MacGyver. MacGyver from the 80s TV show. MacGyver from the 80s TV show. 100%. That's what's happening. I'm down. Yeah, well, that's true. Unless you're Frank Riker, ladies and gentlemen, says, my hate for the Scream franchise comes from the heart. That's true. And Frank just despises and hates anyone who likes Scream. And he'll send you like a package that'll like blow up and throw all sorts of the confetti and the shit all over your face. Those things. That's what'll happen. Let me see. Okay. I think I've got all the super chats, right? Do I have all the super chats? I just want to make sure I've got them all. Fox Gaming, yes. Pedro, yes. Josh McKenna. No, wait. Josh McKenna said in the super chat, said, oh, no. I did get that one. That was the job one. I did get that one. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. So I want to make sure. Okay. We'll go a little bit longer, and then I got to skedaddle because I got to go for a run. It's been a good show so far, though. I think so. Let me see if I can get some non-super chat ones in here from people that I don't normally see too often. Nick Push's Horror Channel. Love to see you here, Nick. Love showing up in the middle of a classic Mcrae rant. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. Deadhead777 says, it's time for an ice cold one with Dave Mcrae. Lose one of the C's in Mcrae, and you've got yourself a deal, ladies and gentlemen. But no, it's true, right? So many people take things so serious. And listen, I know I'm not for everybody. I'm a theatrical person. I can be, very opinionated. I know, for sure. Absolutely. But at the end of the day is what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we're all horror fans. And most of the time when you meet somebody who you think you hate, you realize, holy shit, I actually really like this person. I get it. I get that, there's a shtick, there's always a performance art. There's a shtick that always happens when you're hosting a show, right? And me hosting a show, if I go on a rant, I'm getting into it. I'm getting hot, so I'm always being theatrical for the sake of entertainment. But at the end of the day, if we were all hanging out in somebody's living room, shooting the shit, eating Cheetos, drinking beer, watching horror movies, we'd all have a great time. We'd all be laughing about the things we like, the things we don't like. We'd like, oh, you like that? Oh, fuck, that's the era I grew up in. That's the generation I grew up in, was hanging out with friends, and we could have fun debates over the shit we liked and didn't like. Do you know what I'm saying? It was just fun. Nobody took it personal to the point where, my friend wouldn't call me the next day to hang out. This emotionally charged environment of social media and lack of nuance. And that's part of the problem too, right? And I know I've said this, but the lack of nuance, the lack of being able to actually decipher and see nuance and be in the is killing fandom and causing people to take things so personally, and it's so sad. When you can actually sit with a person in the same room or over a Zoom call and have fun and really get to know, you realize we're a lot more of the same in terms of our fandom than we are different. That doesn't mean we like the same things, but this the way some fans make it so personal is just like, shut the fuck up and sit down. Just go and crunch one out. Shut up. Like, stop taking everything so personally. Sit down. Relax. And then they go over to the culture war channels and congregate where everybody feels and thinks the same way. Lee the Machine Bowers sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate that. And says, I was at Target getting my nephew a volleyball and name it Wilson from Castaway. I yell out, Wilson! That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Yeah, well, it's an actual brand, right? Wilson's an actual brand. So, there's many times where I don't think there's anybody that will be in a sporting goods section at a store, whether it's Walmart or wherever you are, and you're picking up a volleyball or even some, tennis balls. Certainly it would be the case with a volleyball. And you see Wilson and you don't think of Castaway. One of my favorite movies, by the way. Love Castaway. Castaway is absolutely one of my favorite movies, period. An really emotional ending. And the music is great, even though there's no music while he's on the island, which is brilliant. It's exactly the creative decision I would have done. You only begin to hear music again when he's leaving the island. I saw that movie in the theater with my dad back in 2000. Love that movie. One of my favorite movies, period. And I remember even at that age, there were people that were in the theater. I remember this. And it angered me as a film fan. It angered me as somebody who was in film school at that time, because I understood why his character was crying for Wilson and why it was so emotional for him. And I remember being in the theater and there were some people that were laughing. And I remember it being kind of a funny kind of thing, in the weeks after the movie came out. Like, I don't know if they made fun of it on Saturday Night Live or whatever. And I get it. Like, I get it at face value. But from a story perspective, it pissed me off because I got there were a few, I've never cried, but there's a few, like I had, a bit of a lump in the throat, right? Because I got it. And it pissed me off that there were other people that didn't. When you look at it from a cinematic language perspective, right? And you look at the symbolism of what was happening there, he's isolated on this island for 4 years. I can tell you what this is. He's on this island in the middle of nowhere for 4 years. He's alone. The reason and even if the character doesn't realize this consciously, which I don't believe the character does necessarily. Tom Hanks's character in the movie, I don't necessarily believe he's realizing these are the reasons he's doing this. But when he gets angry and he throws that volleyball and the handprint creates, there's the handprint and then he creates the face on it. He does this to keep himself sane. So he's talking to somebody. It's an inanimate object, but he creates a face to give it life. He creates a face to give it life, like a humanoid type face. And he talks to it to keep himself sane. Now, he doesn't necessarily think of that consciously, but that's why that's happening. And so this inanimate object with this face is literally his best friend for 4 years. Now, yes, at face value, it sounds funny, right? It seems funny. Wilson, well said. It seems funny because it's a volleyball. But every time I watch that movie, it chokes me up, that scene, without fail. There's other moments that get me too. But because he's losing his best friend. It literally was his best friend for 4 years. It may be the reason why he's alive to that day. It may be the reason why he is alive at that very moment. And so, yes, at face value, it's funny. But when you look at the cinematic language and the symbolism and the reason Zemeckis wrote it that way was not because he was trying to instill some comedic relief. It carries so much weight to his character. He's losing him in the ocean. He's going. It's powerful shit. It's powerful shit. And I remember hearing the snickers in the theater and getting pissed off. Because I wanted to stand up and go, don't you fucking get it? No, you don't. You don't fucking get it, do you? And it pissed me off. Because I was like, I get it. And so the next time you watch that movie, think of that. That's why he created the face, was to give it life, to give it a humanoid look. And why he's watching him when he's trying to get the fire, right? And he looks over at him and I forget what he says, but he's like, yeah, I could see you just, and he begins to talk to him. And then he talks to him throughout. He's building things and he's like, so what do you think of that, Wilson? I think it looks pretty good. I think it's pretty good. He's doing that because if he didn't, he'd go crazy. It's grounding him. And that volleyball kept him alive. And, of course, the fight to obviously see his fiance again, which, of course, we know how that turned out. But without Wilson, it's powerful shit. So anyways, I love Castaway. Love it. I think it's a terrific film with a terrific ending. And yeah, I think it's great. I don't know where we got on. Oh, yeah. The Wilson thing. That's right. Lee the Machine Bowers follows up with another 1999. Thank you, Lee, and says, my top 5 Tom Hanks films: Forrest Gump, fantastic. Castaway, fantastic. Splash, good one. Big, yes. And The Green Mile. Yes. Hope you're having a great Sunday, my friend. Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate that, man. And thank you for supporting the channel on that level. I would say that, yeah, those are all great. My favorite Tom Hanks movies, definitely Castaway, definitely The Green Mile for sure. I would say Big, yes. I might even go like Sleepless in Seattle, or maybe You've Got Mail. I'm not sure if I want a bit of a romantic comedy in there. The Burbs is a guilty pleasure. I say guilty pleasure because I think The Burbs is often seen as like not that good or whatever. I'm not sure. It's kind of a cult film. I love The Burbs though. The Burbs is great. Love The Burbs. Love The Burbs. Brandon Collins says, I cried so much when Wilson drifted away. As a disabled person who spends most of his life isolated, I 100% get that moment. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's for all intents and purposes, for those of you that still kind of may not see it, think of it as his stuffed animal. And that should immediately make you go, okay. Think of it as a stuffed animal that you have as a child, right? It goes wherever you go, right? It's not just a stuffed animal. It's your friend, right? And so if you're having trouble sort of when you watch the movie going, yeah, to me, it's just a fucking volleyball with a handprint on it. And fair enough. Just if you can go, that's his stuffed animal. Okay. Yeah, that would fucking suck. That would be like, and you think back to maybe stuffed animals you had in your life when you were a kid. And then you get it like, and life's all great again, right? And so Just think of it on that level, and that should help you to go, oh, okay, I see it. It's power. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. And it got so many snickers, and I wanted to stand up and be like, shut up, you bastard, you ungrateful surface level pieces of shit. I didn't, though. That would be very condescending. And my dad got it. My dad was with me. He got it. He totally got it. But he was a writer, right? So he totally got it. Totally got it. 100%. All right, we'll go 5 more minutes, folks. 5 more minutes, and then I have to skedaddle. 5 more minutes, and then I have to skedaddle. But this has been a good show. I just thought I'd have like an open sort of, an open forum, open Q&A on Mcrae Live, which I don't normally do. Usually there's a topic at hand. Oh, Lee the Machine Bowers sends in another very generous super chat, folks. He's going hard into the paint into the last 5 minutes. Oh yeah, Turner and Hooch. Turner and Hooch, it's another great one. Lee says, Turner and Hooch broke me when I was young and still does to this day. Hooch risked his life to save his partner. That movie deserves a Blu-ray to add to my collection. Is it not on Blu-ray, Turner and Hooch? Oh yeah, Turner. But you know what? Anytime you've got like, whether it's Molly and Me or no, Molly and whether that Golden Retriever one with Owen Wilson, that's one that gets you, Old Yeller. That's the old classic. Yes, Turner and Hooch. Anytime there is a dog that sacrifices himself to save somebody, or oh my God, it's just Turner and Hooch gets my sister Jill all the time too. I don't know if she's watching this, but if she is, she'd laugh because that's the waterworks begin big time with Turner and Hooch. But that's another sort of kind of one that's almost looked not quite to the degree of Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, but it's kind of looked. It's not, you know what I mean? Kind of gets a bit of a ribbing a lot. I like Turner and Hooch. I don't see what the big deal. I mean, it's not like, amazing, but I mean, it's a serviceable little late 80s comedy. I don't get the hate for it, really. I'm not quite sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Evil Alex says Philadelphia, of course. I mean, that's where he won his first Academy Award. Forrest Gump, of course. Forrest Gump. Did I say Forrest Gump? I don't think I did. I love Forrest Gump. Yeah, so Green Mile, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Philadelphia, and then maybe throw like a romantic comedy in there. Saving Private Ryan I like, but it's not really Hanks. He is the lead in that film, but it is a massive ensemble piece as well. So he's just kind of part of the ensemble. Although I do love Saving Private Ryan. I mean, it's a phenomenal movie, but I don't know if I'd pick it as like a Tom Hanks movie, even though it is a Tom Hanks movie, but yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Trevor Bristow says, what is your favorite movie trilogy? Mine is The Lord of the Rings. Ooh. Oh. It's got to be probably my favorite trilogy. It's probably a toss-up between the original Star Wars trilogy and the original Indiana Jones trilogy. It's probably a toss-up in between those two, I would say, is probably what it is. Golden Boy 220608. Hi, Dave. Hey, Golden Boy. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. All the good names are taken podcast. Good to see you guys here. Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks. Yeah, there is that one too. Ow! Of course. Evil Alex. I don't know if he's saying this because he knows I'm leaving them off. Terminal. I like Terminal. I do. Road to Perdition. Ow! Guys, if you have not seen Road to Perdition, directed by Sam Mendes, Conrad Hall was a director of photography, 2002. If you have not seen Road to Perdition, do yourself a favor this weekend. Watch it tonight. It is a great film. Tom Hanks, what's his face? Fucking, God damn it. You know what I'm talking about, famous actor. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Not Robert Redford, but the other guy. Yeah, 45's hit me. My memory's going. But I'm telling you, man, like, yes, Road to Perdition is one of my favorite movies, period. Such a terrific film. Oh, that's so great. So great. Trevor Bristow says Toy Story. I like Toy Story. I love Toy Story, but I think for live action live action movies, obviously it's his voice, and certainly as a voice actor, I totally get that is acting, no doubt about it. But I don't see Tom Hanks, and so I don't know if I would choose Toy Story necessarily, but yeah, no, it's great. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. Golden Boy says, Dave, in Halloween, when Loomis and Michael got hungry in relation to the dog, do you think he meant he got hungry to kill? Because I could never understand why he would just eat a dog. I see what you're saying. That's a good question. I always interpreted that he ate the dog. Because he got hungry. I mean, he needs to eat, right? He needs to survive somehow. He needs to eat. So he killed the dog and he ate it. That's how I've always interpreted it. And I think that's how Carpenter always meant it. So yeah, it's interesting. That's how I've always seen it. I've always seen it anyway. Rob Thidoff says, Dave, the Silence of the Lambs characters have different ownership rights, which makes it difficult for future projects. What causes character rights to become so convoluted and confusing? Many things. Many things. It depends who owns, there's the novelization, there's the film rights. If it spawned a franchise and a series, then, what distributor released the first movie, what distributor owns the rights now. There's a number of factors. I'm not obviously a copyright expert, but there are a number of factors, some of which can be, especially when you have a franchise, which The Silence of the Lambs is. You have The Silence of the Lambs, you have Hannibal, you have Red Dragon, you have the Hannibal TV series. I mean, there's many different sort of partnerships and production companies and studios getting it. So I don't know where all of it lies, but I would imagine that has a lot to do with that. Some people, there may be a studio or a production company that owns the rights to the name The Silence of the Lambs and maybe the Clarice character, whereas somebody else might own the rights to this or whatever. I'm not familiar with how that's all divided up, but very similar to what happened with Friday the 13th. So I'd have to brush up on it a little bit, Rob, and find out so I could give you a proper answer. Something that can kind of have a little more meat on the bone. But there's many factors of why that might be the case. All right, folks. Well, listen. That is going to do it for me here on this episode of Mcrae Live, episode 259 and all Q&A. I want to thank, of course, everybody who tuned in, all the super chat questions that came in, the member chat questions that came in. If you want to become a member here on the channel, hit that join button and check it out for exclusive content. I'd really appreciate it. You get your name highlighted in the chat room, of course. You also get to send in member chats that are highlighted green. You get your name on a member card at the beginning of every show. And, of course, you get access to exclusive shows. So check it out if you want to check that out. Thank you, of course, to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tab the Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Thank you for doing what you guys do. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to all the super chats and the member chats that came, the member questions that came in today as well. I appreciate you all for being here. This was a fun one. Again, sometimes it's nice just to sit back on a lazy Sunday and just kind of answer questions. Of course, because I am very thorough and I do yabber, jibber, jabber a lot. I understand that I do not get to each and every one of you that has asked a question. Super chats, of course, I will because they are paying. But please know it is never personal. I love all of you. You guys are amazing. And there will always be another opportunity to ask a question, of course, too. And here's a little hint. If you @ my name, it highlights my name and I can see it a bit easier. Little hint. But nonetheless, folks, you are amazing. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And I will be back with another episode of Mcrae Live very soon. Episode 260, some point this week. I'm sure there's going to be something I'm going to want to talk about and get my voice out there with it. So have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you all soon. In the meantime, let me try that again. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.